Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are diving into the ruins of an ancient castle in order to build a spiral staircase. Whether you are playing DnD or Warhammer, this build will add depth, literally, to your tabletop games. So let's get started, one step at a time. For the first step, we'll make a base that is reversible. One side will be made of wood and the other one will be made of stone. For this, you will need a sheet of XPS Foam with a thickness of 2 cm. On top of it, you will draw a circle with a radius of 6 cm. Next, you will simply cut it. You can cut it with a hobby knife, but if you want to make a perfect circle, you can replicate the jig I'm using by following one of my previous videos. You will find a link to it in the corner of this video. For the next step, you will cut this circle in two. As you can see, I'm first using a junk piece in order to make sure of the thickness. Now, you will take one of the circles that you just cut and you will notice that one of the sides is extra flat. We'll keep it for the wooden part. On the other side, we'll use a ball of aluminum paper in order to texture it. You can also use some rocks from your garden. And here you can clearly see the difference with the texture part on the right. Don't forget to also do the edges. This next step is not mandatory, but I like to trace a thinner circle on both sides of the bases in order to replicate the borders. Again, this is not mandatory, but if you want to make some flagstone effect, you can cut some line with a hobby knife every 2 or 3 cm on the edges of the bases. And then, with a pencil that is not too sharp, you will spread the cuts. And don't forget to do the same on top of the bases, but only on the outer circles. Next, on the flat part of the bases, you will take an ice cream stick or a ruler and you will trace some line in order to represent the wooden floor. You can space each line by 1 cm, but if you want to go quicker, you can also use the width of the ice cream stick. And now we'll trace the parquet slats. I will do them with a length of approximately 6 cm. To go faster, I'm using a piece of wood that I cut to the correct length. And make sure to alternate the position of the planks on each row. Once you have done a few rows, you can simply draw a straight line across the board. To texture the wood, you can simply use a steel bristle brush. Just take your time to make sure to not hit the border. If you don't have access to such brush, you can also do it with a sharp pencil. And for the last touch, you will use a small screwdriver or a toothpick in order to represent the nails on the plank. You can do 2 holes on each side of the planks. And when you are done, this should be the final result. As you can see, with a hobby knife, I added some damage on the stone parts. And now that our basis is done, we'll do the steps of our staircase. For this, you will take the second circle that we did at the first step and you will trace some perpendicular lines. On my side, I wanted a lot of steps, so I did a new circle out of my XPS sheet of 2 cm. Now, using a ruler, you will need to find the middle of each slide that we just drew. If you like this video so far, it's the perfect time to subscribe to my channel or to leave a comment. It really helps me to grow the channel, so many thanks in advance if you do it. Then, you need to trace a line between the middle of each slide. With that, you should have pizza pieces with the exact same size. Each circle will give you 8 pieces, and if you want to represent one floor of Warhammer or DnD, you will need approximately 6 pieces. Don't forget to texturize the circle on both sides of the sheet, because it will be far more quicker now than once we cut every steps. And finally, you will use a wooden dowel in order to make a hole into the middle of the circle. This wooden dowel will be the support on which we will glue all the steps. You can simply cut the circle the same way we did for the base, and for the steps you can simply cut following the lines that we just drew. And again, don't forget to texture all the sides that you just cut. Depending on the look you want to achieve, you can also make some damage on the stone using a hobby knife. Next, you will simply cut the step in two. Indeed, currently, the step is 2 cm high. It's a bit too high for my taste, and I prefer steps of 1 cm. If you want, you can go lower than that, but I will advise to stay above half a centimeter per step. Then, as usual, don't forget to add some texture to the part that you just cut. Now, you can see that the tip of the step is still too sharp, so I will cut it to make it glue more easily to the wooden dowel. And now that everything is ready, it's time to paint it. First, for all the stoneworks, you will start by 2 coats of grey. And for all the wooden parts, you will do the same thing, but with some brown. Next, for each new coat, you will mix a bit of white in your base color and use the dry brushing technique. If you are interested, I made a dedicated video to showcase this technique in details. You will find a link to it in the corner of this video. And of course, don't forget to paint the dowel. And now that every piece is ready, it's time to assemble everything together. If you want more stability, you can glue everything directly on the base, but on my side, I prefer to keep the stair movable. Therefore, in order to keep everything together while the glue is drying, I will use a junk piece of foam instead of the base. To do that, you will put a mark on the dowel to make sure that the step will be glued at the correct position when placed on the base. And when you are ready, you can put a bit of glue on the tip of the step. As you don't want the step to be glued to this junk piece of foam, just make sure to not put any glue on the below side of the step. And finally, while the step is drying, make sure to put a little bit of weight next to the dowel. Also, make sure to use support below the step while it's drying. And then, you will glue the next step. When you glue it, it needs to cover a bit less than half of the previous step. And again, while the step is drying, you will add some weight and some support. Here, you can see that I have not let enough time for the glue to dry properly, but I did it on purpose in order to make sure that the step, once on the base, will be in the perfect position. And then, you can simply rinse and repeat with all the remaining steps. Here, you can clearly see why it's important to add some weight and some support to the steps while they are drying. If you let enough time to the steps to dry properly, I can promise you that they will not move anymore. And here you have the final result. I glued together 6 steps, which gave me the perfect height compared to one floor of a Warhammer or DnD building. As you can see, once fully dry, it's really sturdy. Also, it's really modular, as I can easily move from a wooden floor to a stone floor by simply flipping the bases. And finally, if you want, you can remove it from the bases in order to use with any piece of terrain. And finally, if you want to stay around for a few seconds, I will present you a 9-step stair that I made. It's still super modular, but I had to add a dowel for the support. If you made it this far, please consider to subscribe to my channel and to leave a comment if you liked this video. Thank you very much for your support and see you next time.